Okay, I think we're good. Can everyone hear me? Can you just give me a thumbs up if you guys can hear me okay? Okay, cool. Okay, I'm in the garage. Karina said her child's been screaming all day. Mine aren't screaming right now, but I have 2 little ones and a very small house. So sometimes it's hard to find quiet space. So I'm trying to work and make the garage like a makeshift office. So it's not the prettiest background, but it is quiet. So we're going with it. Okay, so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Rebecca Johnson, and I am a diamond coach. I've been coaching since April 2014, and I got started, my older daughter, she's 2.5 now, but she was 10 months when I started, and I just probably was like most of you, like I just felt like I had lost a piece of me and who I was, and I felt just like I didn't even almost recognize myself anymore, just like my body, who I was, just all that. So I really was searching for something to help me lose weight, but also just to help me give like a new sense of purpose. So I started with the 21-day fix. If you didn't know like a little bit about my story. So I started with the 21-day fix, and altogether in my weight loss journey, I've lost about 40 to 50 pounds. But I also got pregnant in the middle of that. So I'm not quite back down to where I would like to be again, but that is the cool thing about this and us, right? Our journey is always going, and that's just something we always have stuff to share with our friends and family. So but that's a little bit about me. I was working full-time when I started, and so I understand time constraints with a little one and working and trying to work the biz. And then, of course, pregnant, you know how tired you get. So I have been there. If you ever have questions about how to manage time or schedules or whatever, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm now full-time at home with my 2 girls and coaching as of just like last month. So big changes. I also moved across the country to be near Blair, who's cooking in her kitchen. So yeah, that's just like briefly what my story is. I get to talk about follow-ups tonight, which is my jam. I love follow-ups. And so I can't wait to get kind of into the meat of follow-ups, but I can't start talking about follow-ups without really touching on the fact that you always have to have people you're talking to, right? You have to, in order to have a follow-up, you had to have first invited somebody, right? Because you can't follow up if you've never invited. So always make sure that you have a pipeline of people that you're talking to, because it makes inviting and follow-up so much easier if you just always have people you're talking to. You should always have conversations going. And then the second piece that is really vital to follow-ups is that you always have to be working from a list. And for me, it's multiple lists, and I am going to actually show you how I keep my lists organized in just a minute. But so I have several lists going. And again, this just kind of goes back to the fact, like, if you don't know who you've invited, you can't go back and do that follow-up. So before I even start talking about follow-ups, I just want to make sure that stress that you absolutely have to be tracking who you're talking to. You will leave money, helping people, everything on the table if you're not tracking who you're talking to. So I'm probably going to say that like a few times. The tracking piece is so important. And, you know, I know sometimes it feels like tedious to do it, but let me tell you, in the long run, it makes your life so much easier, and it makes your business grow faster. So I have, like I said, I have multiple lists. I have my master list that I'm always adding to and working from, and these would just be just anybody that I know that I think of, just put them on this list. And those are people who I would do then my Hey Girls from. So that's like my master list is just like my Hey Girls, reaching out to people, starting relationships, getting those connections going. And then I have monthly lists. So each month I open a new sheet in Google Docs, and I just list people that I invite that month. So it's, you know, could be from my master list. So there's definitely some overlap because, right, you should be moving them into invites. So in my monthly list, I really literally chart every single person that I have invited to anything. Or if it's, you know, just a conversation that's going to inviting, then I want to make sure that they're on that list so that that month I know that I hit them. And then I also track on just how many Hey Girls and follow-ups I'm doing on any given day, so that I know that I'm making sure I'm reaching my goals. I tend to not put goals of course I put goals of how many people I want to help in a month, but I also make sure that I have goals of how many people I'm reaching out to in a month, because you're inevitably going to hear no's. So if you want to help 3 people get started, you can't just invite 3 people and expect that you're going to hit that goal. So that's sort of a side note. So I track those type of things. Let me see if I can figure this out. Let me share my screen and I will show you what my lists look like, because I know I'm super visual and sometimes I'm like, that makes sense, sort of, until I actually see it. So let me see if I can get this to work. There we go. Share. Okay, can you guys see what looks like Google Drive? Thumbs up. All right. Okay, so for me, Google Drive works the best because I can access it anywhere. There's an app on my phone, no matter if I'm on my computer or my iPad or whatever, like I can get into these lists. So I keep scripts here or things I share often with people. I have different folders for my things so that I can access them super quick. So on any given month, I just start like a new spreadsheet. Let's see if oh, that's not a good one. Hold on, that's an old one. Let's go to September. See what September looked like. Okay, so again, it's super simple, like all along the top, it's just like my daily, how many Hey Girls or follow-ups I've done, my invites, current challengers, new coaches, and I have who's in my sneak peeks. Mm-hmm. So I literally just, like I said, type the names of people that I've invited. So that center column, that's all my invites just for September. So I'm at what, 51 invites for September. I could never remember 51 names. I don't know about you, maybe you have a super duper memory, but I know that I could never remember 51 people in September and then add on all the other months that I've been coaching, right? So I keep it this way monthly for me because as we move into what I'm going to talk about the follow-ups, it helps me know when I invited people. So that way I know, like I can definitely go back and reach out to some of these people. I'm sure that some of these people are overdue for me to follow up, see what they're doing, continue to build that relationship, but it helps me to have it clumped like this so that I know how long it's been since I've talked to them, or actually invited them, not talked to them, but invited them. And I'll like write quick little notes as I'm going. This doesn't take a lot of time once you have it in place. Literally, it's just like adding another name on and then going, moving on. So if you're inviting 3 to 5 people a week, you just keep adding onto this list as you're doing it. I put stars next to people that I think would make great coaches and they seem really interested. So those I know when I go back are the first people I'm going to follow up with. And so forth. Okay, does that help to kind of see it? Okay, and then I take all of these names and put them on a list of all invites that I've done. Okay, let me see if I can get back to me. Back, okay. So that is how, like I said, I kind of had to start with that because I think that if you're not tracking and you're not actually doing your invites, follow-up really is meaningless because you're just not going to have the people to talk to follow up. So, and why are follow-ups important? Because as much as we would all love to have someone say yes to us the very first time we invite them to a challenge group or invite them to coach, it's really not the reality. And I bet if you thought back to you getting started, it wasn't the reality for you either. I'm sure that your sponsor probably had to follow up with you or you weren't quite ready. So you can kind of put yourself in that mindset that it wasn't that you never wanted to do it, obviously, it just wasn't the right timing for whatever reason. So whenever I think about it in that way, it really helps my follow-ups because I know that maybe, this is the right time for someone and I give them that opportunity to tell me that it's the right time for them now. So it usually takes about, statistics have said like 5 to 7 times of putting something in front of somebody before they say yes. So that just, first invite, Is it going to go, maybe some people will say yes, but it's not always going to go to a yes. And that's why it's so important to keep track of their name, because you always want to make sure that you're doubling back and following up with them. You will leave money on the table if you're not following up, because following up is really where the magic happens, because you're continuing to build that relationship. And following up doesn't always have to be, well, it shouldn't be like, hey, you ready to order yet? Like when we're talking about following up, I'm talking about continuing to build that relationship. And I'm actually going to give you a few, script is a really loose term, but I'm going to give you some things that I say in my follow-ups for different situations. And so first what I do if someone's on my list, like I'll go back into December probably now and say like, okay, who said they weren't ready because of the holidays, right? Probably got a lot of no's in December because of Christmas. And now we're in February. It's been a couple months. People should be back on their feet, feeling ready to get started. So I'm going to start with December when I'm doing follow-ups. And then what I'll do is I'll pull up my list and see who I had starred. And then I'm going to go into their conversation and I'm going to read back and see what I said to them and what they said. Because again, I'm a mom of two. My memory is not as good as it used to be. And I want to make sure, like, what did we talk about? Okay, because I'm going to continue to build on that relationship. So, I might just say, and if we left it at a place that I'm like, oh, I really can't I don't know what to say to them yet. Go to their wall, spend a minute or two just seeing what's going on in their life. And then, I don't know why I just said my internet is unstable. All right, see what's going on in their life. And that's a super easy way to intro, just like with a hey girl, kind of structure your follow-ups like a follow-up hey girl, like, oh, hey, how was your Christmas? Or what you do for Valentine's Day? You want to continue to build that relationship. So you're not always going to just like dive right into like, so we were talking about the 21-day fix. Are you ready yet? Like we want to continue to build that trust with people that we're talking to. So know something new about them. When you're going to do your follow-up, notice something new about their life. Notice that they went on a vacation, or notice that they got a new car or had a child. Maybe they weren't ready because they were pregnant and now they've had their baby and it's been 2 months. So make sure you're always knowing something about the people that you're talking to. Because as much as, we want someone to join us, our job is to know about the people that we're talking to, right? We don't just throw a product out there to somebody. We have like a white glove service, you could think of it as. So just know something new when you're doing your follow-up. So I wrote this. I don't know if you read the Choose Your Own Adventure stories when you were growing up, but I used to love okay, in this scenario, choose A or B. So part of follow-ups is also trusting your intuition and knowing, okay, who do I want to follow up with? Like who have you been seeing active on your Facebook wall or page? Who do you think might be ready now for whatever reason? So some of it is kind of using that intuition, like maybe they do have a vacation coming up and you notice that. So now's a great time to follow up and say, hey, where are you going on vacation? And talk about that. And then you can ease back into like, yeah, I'm going on a cruise next month too. And I'm trying to get, myself back in shape. I have this challenge group. I know you were kind of interested before. Did you want to do that before your vacation? So again, knowing what they're doing, bringing it back to what you talked about before, and sort of just knowing, like, use your intuition to know who's ready and what type of invite you can say. So I have a couple just like things that I say, like I might say like, hey, Jeanette, I was just thinking of you and wanted to say hi, how is, and then like whatever you saw on their wall. Okay, so that's like a super basic blank follow-up, right? You're starting that conversation again. I can't tell you how many times I've actually just done that, just like a super generic one, and people are like, hey, I'm so glad that you reached out to me. I've been meaning to talk to you about the 21-day fix. Like sometimes they will just take the opportunity of you reaching out to like get right back into the conversation. Had you never reached back out to them, they probably wouldn't have reached out to you. Like it kind of goes back to, I don't know, I do have people, reach out now that I've been doing it for this long, but it's still like people still, for whatever reason, just what it is. Sometimes they're afraid to ask for help, or sometimes it's just on their mind, but they're not actively like, going to seek you out. So that follow-up is super important. So that's just kind of a blank one, a generic one. Now, sometimes in my follow-ups, I will go back into the conversation and I realized like we kind of left it hanging. Like they weren't ready yet. They were like, give me time to think about it. And, you know, for whatever reason, like that week, like I missed them. I didn't follow up with them. So I'll even do a follow-up like this. That's something like, oh my God, girl, I totally dropped the ball. You wanted to get started with the 21-day fix. Time has totally been flying by. Is this something you're still wanting to do? And you just leave it at that, like something so simple, just leave it at that. And lastly, maybe you've followed up a couple times with someone and they're not answering, or let's say they were in a coach sneak peek, or they were in, you know, that you were just talking about coaching, let's say, and then they just kind of stop responding to you. And maybe you've done a follow-up, maybe another follow-up, and you're not hearing from them. So I might say something like, hey, I hope I'm not bothering you. I just know you were super interested in helping others and coaching, so I didn't want to leave you hanging. Did you still want info? Right? Leave it at that. Like we don't want to like go into a tirade of what they had said they wanted to do. Just leave it like at that. So that's another example of a follow-up that maybe someone's just kind of stopped talking, you know, stopped answering. And I have to say, like, sometimes people just get busy. I actually have a recent coach who I was like, I feel like I'm totally bothering you, but you wanted to sign up so bad, like, and you just stopped answering. Like, I know you really want this, but I'm really like not trying to bother you. So if you've changed your mind, it's totally cool. Just let me know. But again, I know you were interested, so I didn't want to leave you hanging. I always put it on like me, as in like, I'm doing this for you. I know you wanted to do this, so I don't want it to be me that's holding you up. And when people hear it from that perspective, you know, a lot of times they're just like, oh, no, you know, of course you're not bothering me. My kid was sick, you know, all week. It was awful. I saw your messages come in and I totally forgot to respond. Like, I have never had someone get angry at me for following up. But I know that that fear is out there, that you feel like, oh my God, I'm bothering someone if I ask them again. Like, so as long as you're approaching it from an authentic place and you know that this is something that can help them, like don't be fearful of following up. Follow-ups are totally about deepening relationships. They're about deepening understanding. A lot of time people say no because they don't, let's say for coaching, for example, they don't understand yet what coaching is. So they're saying no because they just don't get it, not because they're not interested. So that follow-up is another opportunity to make sure that they understand what the opportunity can give for them. And so again, that kind of goes back to like, know something new about them when you're following up. What's another reason that this can be helpful to them? And follow-ups are also about overcoming objections. Like I said, most people are going to say no those first couple times. So there's a lot of great overcoming objection trainings. So I recommend seeking those out on the Misfit channel, YouTube channel. And if that's something that you're like kind of timid about objections, then watch a couple of those. But it kind of goes back to just making the understanding of what a challenge group is or coaching is. That really helps clarify the objections. Follow-ups are not about pushing. So I don't want you to take away like, oh, I should be like beating down people's doors. No, like definitely people need the follow-up, but we're still not, you know, out there selling and pushing hard. It's more about their relationship building and continuing to build that trust with somebody. So take the you out of it and just be sure you're serving people, and that authenticity is going to come through and people are going to start saying yes. You're going to start seeing that turn from the follow-ups. I was thinking of like, when I'm afraid to follow up, or I hear coaches say that they're afraid to, you know, bother somebody, I always think of it like a white glove service. Like, think of a time that you got really excellent customer service. I'm guessing that somebody asked you questions. I'm guessing that they followed up with you. I'm guessing that they made you feel heard. You know, you walked out feeling really good about yourself and the transaction, whatever it was. So you're providing the same service. Like you as a coach are there to help them make a huge change in their life. And it can be scary for them. So you're there alongside of them to help them through that. And that comes out in the follow-up. That just digging deeper and continuing to peel those layers and those onions, get through all that mud and get to the heart of what's holding them back. And that only comes from following up, continuing to get to know them and building and knowing their why and knowing how what you have to offer can help them. And if you're coming from that place, I promise you it's not scary, and it's so rewarding to see them finally make that switch and be like, yes, I'm ready now. Yeah, let me think, what else? Be authentic. But I want to go back to the fact you always have to have people to follow up with. So this really goes hand in hand with inviting. If you're not inviting, you can't follow up, right? So, and that I could say the same thing about following up with being scared. It could be the exact same thing with inviting. You know, you're providing a really exceptional service for people, and don't be afraid to share it. I mean, if you're afraid to share it, maybe you're not focusing on your journey enough, and so you're not seeing the benefits of how it can help somebody else. So turn it back on you for a week and make sure, you know, kill your workouts, kill your nutrition, be sharing it like a boss, and be getting out there and focusing on you. Do your personal development, and I promise that those invites and those follow-ups are going to become so much easier. So how often do, and if you guys have questions, I'm sorry, please feel free to either type in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself at any time. I'm kind of going through this fast because I'm not sure how long my Zoom is going to kick me off. As far as like time frame of how often I follow up, I have like a rule of two. So I follow up after, if it's like an invite that has gone to a yes, I want to do this, or I'm pretty sure I want to do this, but the conversation has kind of died off, like they haven't answered your, like, I need your, here's the link, or I need your email and Shakeology flavor, and I'll get it started, and you know, you go through the Coach Mobile. If you're kind of hanging in that window where they want to do it, but the next step hasn't happened, I personally give 2 days. I give them, like, because, you know, again, people get busy. We're all moms, we know how things just slip our mind. So I usually give them about 2 days, and then I just do a follow-up message similar to what I kind of outlined earlier, just like, hey, I know you wanted to sign up, things are crazy, just wanted to make sure you have everything you need, you know, did the email come through okay, those kind of questions. If they are a no, you know, they weren't ready to sign up, then, and I have them on my monthly list, then depending on the time of year and what's going on, I usually, and what the conversation was like, again, this kind of goes back to really trusting your intuition. If someone was like, give me a couple weeks, then I definitely wouldn't follow up with them in a couple weeks or in a month. Whenever they tell you they want to start, I would definitely follow up with them. But if it's just kind of been like a, no, not really ready, then I'll give it a month or two. Or again, if I notice something on their wall that makes me feel like they could be ready now, then I definitely will reach out and follow up again. But if it's just kind of like an out of the blue follow-up, it's usually been 6 weeks to 2 months. Like, I give it a little bit of time before I've, you know, start back up in the conversation. And usually then I'm like, oh my God, it's been a minute. How are things going for you? Like, what's going on? So, but those are kind of my time frame. So usually it's, you know, if they wanted to sign up but they just didn't, I usually give it like a day or 2 days is usually pretty normal for me. And then, yeah, another thing that helps with follow-ups is if they are a no, I ask, or I say like, okay, well maybe you'd be ready, you know, for my next challenge group. Can I follow up with you before, you know, my next one starts up? And usually they're like, yeah, that'd be awesome. So ask them too, like give yourself opportunities to follow up. Give yourself those leads, because then when you follow up, it's super easy to say, hey, I know you mentioned you wanted me to check back with you. I have another awesome group starting up. Would now be a better time? You know, give yourself that room and that time to get back with them. So that's pretty much it, other than just a reminder that especially after you've invited somebody, they will be watching you. Like, best believe they're going to be like, what is this girl up to? What is she doing? What is, you know, hammer and chisel, or what is coaching? What does she mean? So you have to continually be sharing your journey on your wall, continually showing what coaching is doing for you. And it can be just this community, this amazing community to you know, gas in your car or, you know, rent or whatever it is, daycare bills. But just sharing, you know, sprinkle your story in there. Make sure you're breadcrumbing what's going on, because the more you start inviting, the more people are going to be watching what you're doing. And they want to know that you're going to be there for them. So they want to know you're continuing your journey too. They want to see, you know, your weight loss journey or your fitness, whatever you're working on. Because you're building that trust. So it all goes together. And it's almost like your wall should be kind of like continually following up with people. Like they should always be seeing what you're doing. And that makes your follow-ups easier too, because you're in their mind. And also they know like you're still doing this. You're still their go-to person. So if you drop off the wall, they may not know you're still doing it. And so, you know, a month has gone by, maybe they're ready to start and somebody else has come in and they're sharing their journey. So, yeah, does anybody have any questions about follow-ups? None?
You did such a great job. I want to make sure that everybody understands, if you are on live or you're watching this recording, Becky really truly is like the queen of follow-ups. So when we got to this topic, I was like, Becky, you should do follow-ups, because look, we all have like a bad week or a bad month, and this has happened to me many times, even now, 3.5 years down the line, where it's the last day of the month and I have not hit my goal of Success Club. And when you are able to keep track the way Becky's doing, or find the system that works for you, like everybody's different. So whether it's, you know, pen and paper or doing, I think I'm going to move over how I'm doing it a little bit more organized the way you're doing it. Because when I looked at it, I was like, oh, that's even more organized than what I'm doing. That actually makes more sense. I should probably do it that way. But when you do it, it makes it so much easier. So when you need to do follow-ups, you have a list of people to be following up with. And then follow-ups are just, they really are like the bread and butter of the business, because it takes time for people to kind of like come around. Yeah. So
it does. No,
Becky, though, has been the queen of doing this.
Like, my coach is, you know, going inactive. I'm like, don't you worry. I have 18 people I'm following up with today. And then I'm like, okay, I'm good. You know, I'm keeping my diamond. I'm good.
She's done this like every month or like every week, because this happens, you guys. It happens all the time where like you're either pushing for Success Club or something of that nature, or, for your diamond or emerald or whatever it is. And Becky's always the queen of doing it. She's always like, don't worry, I have like 60 people I can follow up with. Like, no problem. And I was like, oh, all right, you go do that 60 follow-ups in one day. And she always hits Success Club. So that right there just shows.
Yep. I probably double or triple my follow-up to invite ratio. Like, maybe I'm inviting, 1 or 2 people a day. I'm probably that's low, but I follow up with probably 5 to 10 people a day. So it's just continuing that conversation and waiting for another opportunity to be like, hey, remember we were talking about this, so.
Yeah. And it makes it good too when you have a list like that, you guys, like especially right now when we have a brand new program that's going to be coming out, or whenever we have new launches, when you have lists like that put together in little detailed notes, you can go back and follow up with all these people that maybe when you talk to them, it sounds like, oh, you know what, maybe 22-minute hardcore is going to be right? Is that what it's called? Oh my God, I can't remember what it's called. I'm all looking at my shirt because I'm wearing it. I'm like,
I was like, what is she
it's on my shirt. But like, I was like, wait, it's called that. Then you can at least like follow back up with these people, or when like a new Shakeology flavor comes out, and people who like love Starbucks or whatever it is, like it makes it so much easier for your follow up. So I love that you showed not only like how to track it, so easily, because I think that's where most coaches
really
fall
started implementing tracking. I think was like it took me a while to really like find a system that worked for me. I think it was like May of last year that I really started doing like a system like this. Like it still was a little bit different, but it was pretty much this. I hit success club 17 in August. No, July. So because there's like that little bit of delay, but it was like as soon as I hit something like, I was like, oh yeah, duh. Yeah, this tracking thing, there's something to it.
Yeah, go figure it out, right?
Yeah.
When people tell you to like track stuff maybe, or like, we don't just like tell you guys to do stuff just because it like sounds cool. It's like because it actually works and stuff.
And if you remember everyone that you're inviting, you're not inviting enough people. Because there's no way you should be able to remember everybody that you're talking to and inviting. So that's your first challenge. If you can remember like the 5 people you've invited, you're not inviting enough. So, any questions? Cool. Did I go out or am I still good? Okay.
We can always have everybody, if you guys think of anything, post them in the team page, and then, Becky can definitely, help, because this is definitely like an area that I feel is definitely her expertise. I definitely learned some new things, and I was like, oh, that's better. I should do that.
Aw.
I was trying to think if I had a question for you.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything now.
Well,
thank you, Becky, for hosting the call.
This is my biggest thing besides like follow-ups is just implement what you learn. Please, like you sat on here for 30, 40 minutes. Like, don't waste your time. Go out there and actually like go do some follow-ups when you get off this call. Go do 5 follow-ups. Implement it right away. So cool. Okay, I'll get this loaded up on the team page too. Hi, Landon.
Landon. All right, you guys have a really good rest of your week. And thank you, Becky.
You're welcome. Bye, guys.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Say bye, Landon.
Bye.